Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Captain's Table. I'm your host, Captain B-Nard, and topic of discussion today is going to be The Mandalorian Season 3, a review of and reaction to that season of the show. And here to discuss that with me, making his 16th appearance on the Captain's Table, it is none other than the man who likes to rant sometimes, Jonny Reps.
Where's Michelonius? Why is he not here?
He's been MIA for quite some time. I'm
Well,
gonna try to get him back for the when I do another one of these next month. Spoiler alert. I'm gonna try to do another one of these next month after the Flashpoint comes out, or the Flash movie, which is about the Flashpoint
hold up.
paradox.
So is that actually going to be in theaters? Is that going to be like a
Yeah, it's
CW
gonna be in
movie?
theaters. Yeah, of course it's gonna be in theaters.
Okay, so gotcha.
Yes,
Um,
we're not talking about that
so are
today.
you are you are you keeping up to date on DC stuff?
Yes, I am actually, but that but that's a topic for another time. Um,
I know, but people like the banter in the beginning, I think.
yeah, sometimes. So,
Why
uh,
don't you ask me what I think of the Mandalorian overall?
all right, so yeah, we're gonna just talk about the whole season
No,
three of
no,
the
just
Mandalorian here.
ask me what I think. Ask me what I think about the Mandalorian overall.
All right, what do you think of the Mandalorian overall?
Disgusting and probably illegal.
All right, you can't play too many Tucker sound bites because Fox is probably gonna sue me because they need money after they lost that lawsuit. So, um,
Well, if you think that's going to happen, then I have one word. I have to tell you that
You're a moron.
all
You're a
right,
moron. You're a moron.
if you think anyone from Fox is watching this, then
You're a
you never
moron.
know. Okay, you never know. I have hundreds of viewers. I'll have you know. But
I,
in any
all
case,
right.
so talking about the Mandalorian season three today. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Gonna go over everything that happened in all the episodes, or didn't happen for that matter, in some cases. And then, yeah, kind of talk about Star Wars in general a little bit and where the franchise is after The Mandalorian Season 3. So, I will start off by saying that um, I was kind of lukewarm on this season, to be completely honest. I thought it was all right, but I thought there were a lot of issues with it more so than the other two seasons of the show. Um, my main problem with it was lack of like plot progression and storytelling and just like obscene amounts of filler. Um, and when we talk about the episodes specifically, which we will get into now, you'll kind of see what I mean by that. Or if you've watched the show already, which I assume everyone listening at this point has, you'll already know what I'm talking about. But so the first couple episodes are all about the man. Well, in the first episode, him and Grogu go back to um, see his friend, and they get in the fight with some space pirates, and they go back to his tribe, and for some reason they don't accept him back because he took his helmet off, which is like a grave sin for some reason for them. And so the only way that they'll forgive him is if he quote unquote takes a bath. So you know what I'm talking about, right? Um,
Yeah, he has to like take a dunk in the trunk.
yeah, so which kind of makes sense, but so I have right off the
Oh, they
cuff
say you have to like wash yourself in the waters of what
bathe
the
in the
hell is it
living
called?
waters of Mandalore, but you can't get to Mandalore because it was bombed to shit during the Empire days. So, and
Yeah,
it's
because you can't get to Mandalore because it's
You go in the middle of the woods.
yeah, that. So, right away I have a problem, and this is kind of it doesn't specifically have anything to do with the Mandalorian, but it has to do with the overall Disney Plus product experience. And what I mean by that is, at the end of the Mandalorian season two, we all remember that Grogu was given up by the Mandalorian to Luke Skywalker, or at least a facsimile of Luke Skywalker created by CGI, to go ahead and train to be a Jedi. And that was the last episode of season two of The Mandalorian. And here in the first episode of season three of The Mandalorian, we see them back together as if none of that had ever happened. So, what you might not know if you don't keep up on the other Disney Plus shows is that on the Boba Fett show, for some reason, like half of the Boba Fett show, or a little less than half, several episodes in the middle of the Boba Fett show were commandeered to be like the Mandalorian season 2.5, essentially, which I thought was really stupid at the time that it happened. But they basically undid the entire plot of the first two seasons of The Mandalorian in like a handful of episodes in the middle of the Boba Fett show, which
how
I
did they
just thought was really
undo them? What
stupid.
are you talking about?
You don't remember that?
remember the episodes, but I don't know what you're talking about. Undoing the plot
Well,
was.
the plot was that they were trying to get Grogu to a Jedi so that he could be trained as a Jedi, and they accomplished that at the end of the Mandalorian season 2, was getting him to Luke to train as a Jedi, and then in the Boba Fett show they like totally undid that whole thing, which I thought was
They
stupid.
didn't undo it. It was just plot progression.
Well, plot progression as in negating the last plot
It
point.
wasn't negating him. It was just he went to train, and then he's like, I want to be a Mandalorian.
Sure.
And
So
then Luke was like, what?
yeah, he was like, "You have a choice. You can either take the chainmail, or you can take Yoda's lightsaber that I have somehow." So
And then yeah, he had Yoda's lightsaber because he robbed his hut, obviously.
yeah, so
Though that
Family
was
Guy
never
did have it
explained.
right. You
Yeah,
remember the Family
exactly.
Guy where he like takes his like steals his wallet after he dies?
Oh, yes, that's canon now.
Yeah, that is kid Luke pillaging Yoda's hut in episode 6 after he dies is now officially canon.
Hmm.
So so yeah, there you go. So I thought that was I thought it was dumb how like if you so I don't like the idea of if you didn't watch the Boba Fett show, which I don't know, I think from what I understand from the numbers, there are a significant number of people who didn't. Then you wouldn't know why they're back together, which I
I'm
think.
sure people know everything's on the internet. You can Google it, and it's just for consistency's sake. I don't know,
I don't. I mean,
whatever.
I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, you could find that information even if you didn't watch it. But I'm
It's
just
like,
saying, like,
Did you ever watch like? It's like if there was a show, and
mm,
they did like a spin-off,
yeah,
like a pilot for a spin-off, and then the spin-off show had like a couple episodes, and the spin-off show got canceled or something. But then they were like, oh no, the plot of the spin-off show just entirely changed the plot line of the main show, and you got to watch that if you want to be up to speed.
yeah. I don't like when shows do that. I guess what I'm getting at. Like, if it was something insignificant or like some little cool thing that was like, okay, it's a little extra bit of information, I wouldn't mind it. But if it's like a major plot point like that, I just don't like it. But um, But yeah, so moving on from that though, they eat up like 2 whole episodes essentially of him going in, and then he goes to see Bo-Katan, and because like for some reason she.
Wait. That was that the first episode? I don't even. I'm so out of order in terms of these because I watched them all once, and I was just like, it.
That was, I think, the beginning of the second episode was he goes to see, but because the first episode was him like going back to Carl Weathers and shooting up the pirates, and then getting chased by the pirates, and then telling him that he
And
has to.
Babu Frick was there, right?
Yes, yes, he was. Yeah, the one of the cult following fan favorites from the new trilogy, which I know I am saying that it's hard to believe, but there is actually a character from the new trilogy that the fans actually like. Um,
I like Kylo Ren.
well, I liked him in the first like 3/4 of the first movie. um, but anyway, so yeah, but then yeah, the second episode is he goes to see Bo-Katan, and for or no, I think the first episode ends with him talking to Bo-Katan, and then the second episode picks up with him driving, flying over to get the droid, and then go to Mandalore. So like there's a lot of stuff that happens in this season of The Mandalorian that seems that it's just there to fill screen time, and this is one of those things too. Like he goes to see Bo-Katan, and he's like, I know I need to go to Mandalore, but like where on Mandalore do I need to go? And she's like, oh, go to this place, and he's like, oh, well, I've never been there before, so obviously I know where it is. Thanks, and he just leaves, and it's like it feels like it was just there to fill up screen time and also reintroduce Bo-Katan, I guess. Um, and so, yeah, she's like living alone on some planet because I guess her band of Mandalorians, including Sasha Banks, decided that she sucked and they didn't want to follow her anymore. So,
Just like in wrestling, she walked out.
yes, Sasha walked out on her. There you go. Cross reference. Did you see she just got injured? I think
Oh,
Sasha, because she was the
nope.
well,
But
she was
I
the
wouldn't doubt it.
she was actually holding a title in New Japan,
New Japan,
and
yeah. I
she
know she was in New Japan.
just dropped it. I think because she got
Who's
injured.
Sasha Banks? Don't you mean Mercedes Monet?
Mercedes Moon, yeah, sorry, my bad, my
I
bad.
thought it was Mercedes Monet.
Whatever, you know what I mean. So, um, but yeah, so then the second episode is him going to the planet, to back to Mandalore and like trying to figure out if it's like poisoned or if they can live there again because he has to try and like get out and go to the fucking lake to take a bath. Um, and then he has to fight off some like weird like space lizard monkey things. You remember that? And then he goes down and gets captured by like some robotic scorpion spider or something, and he gets trapped in a freaking cage. Um, so at least you get some action. Well, there's some action in the first one too, which was fine. All the action sequences are fine and they're fun and they're fun Star Wars action sequences and that's all well and good. Um, but then he gets captured and then Grogu has to go back and get Bo-Katan so she can like save his sorry ass. You remember all that. Um, so all that's like well and good. I don't really have an issue with any of that per se. Um, but would you like to weigh in on any of that, Johnny?
So again, I'm kind of like, I watched it very casually, so I'm kind of like unsure of where a lot of this stuff happened. I kind of don't remember the exact order of things, but I remember him getting an R5 droid that was exploding.
Yep, that
Um,
was in the first couple
remember he
episodes.
I remember he was underground. So the first wait, so the first episode was when he went back to the town
Yes,
with the Carl Weathers
yes,
and he tried to turn on the droid, but it tried to attack Grogu. Did that happen in the first
yeah. That
episode?
was I had failed to mention that, but yes, that was on the because they like salvaged the scrap of the
Yeah,
IG
yeah, that's right.
11
Because yeah, they salvaged IG-11.
for
He went
whatever
back and
reason. Because
they turned him on. And he went to go out because they said he reset to his default program and he went to attack Grogu or whatever. So then
yes,
he got the R5 droid, like one of those. The running joke is that they always blow up and don't work, right?
yes,
Uh, he got an R5 droid. And he took the droid with him to the Mandalorian planet.
yes.
And was this all still the first
This is
episode?
the second episode now.
What? Okay. What was like the plot, the action in the first episode? Like what
Where
happened at the end
where
of it?
those like space pirates came to the town with Carl Weathers and they were like trying to go into the school because they used to be the it
Yeah,
was
like
a really
he just like one shot all of them.
yeah, but they like the space pirates were like making a big like scene because they're like, "Oh, you turned our bar into a school." And he's like, "Oh, well, just come have a drink at my office instead." And they're like, "We want to drink here cuz this is what used to be the bar." And it's like, "What the
And then
fuck?"
it was like
It's fucking
and
and then they
then
all just got one shot by fucking the Mandalorian.
the Mandalorian was just like,
Pretty much, yeah. So it was like conflict generated by lazy writing was what that was essentially. So um
I don't know. I thought it wasn't that lazy, but well, anyway. And then the second episode was when he went down to that thing and he got abducted by like that bondage monster or whatever the fuck that was, right?
yeah, yeah, that's
And
what I
then
was just talking
and then
about.
Bo-Katan for some reason can like Grogu can like go all the way. Or no, was Grogu with him at this point?
Yeah, he like flies the ship by himself all the way on. I think it was on autopilot, but he flies it all the way back himself to.
Yeah, but what the hell is the deal with this in Star Wars that all this can happen so quickly? Like this should like realistically this should take like even in like Star Wars land with hyperspace and everything, this should take like at the minimum like days.
Yeah.
Like right for
Well,
that
it's kind of
for
unclear how much time passes in between like when he's like in the bondage monster and like when she busts in to save his sorry ass. There's kind of like a an unspecified amount of time that passes there. So I guess it could have been days. Um, but yeah, so she saves him, and then she takes him down to the cave so he can take his bath, and then he falls in, and she sees like that giant monster in the water that's like supposed to be the symbol of Mandalore or whatever. I forget what it's
yeah,
called.
it's one of those walking trees from the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
That's what it
that
looks like.
thing. It's a giant Groot, is what it is, really. Star Wars is actually like in the future, and this is like in the future of the MCU where like it's just Groot. So
And he grew really big.
yeah, it's Groot in kaiju mode. Is what it is.
Got it.
Um,
Oh, so then I
that's
don't
pretty
know.
much it for the second episode. So then we go to the third episode.
I'll say this about it. I think my overall thing about a lot of the recent Star Wars that I don't really like is the fact that they can get from point A to point B so quickly. When in like
Okay.
the you like in the original trilogy, there were like some major plot points related around how long it takes to travel between places, like how you know it took a while for the Millennium Falcon, which was supposedly like the fastest ship in the galaxy, to travel from Tatooine to like Alderaan,
Yeah,
right? It took quite a while. It was
yeah,
implied that it took a pretty long. I don't know if it was days or something, at least like like many hours, right?
yeah.
And then like in Empire Strikes Back, when Luke goes all the way to Dagobah, like that supposedly took a long time, and then it took him a long time to go to Bespin too, right?
Right. Yeah, that is true. I see what you're
So
saying.
it's like
Now
it
everything
seems
just
to me.
happens in like the blink of an eye.
Yeah, like even in the Clone Wars and everything, they're like, it seemed like there was like distance between places, and it wasn't just like everything's just down the street.
Yeah, it does. It kind of takes away from like the realism, if you can call it that. But it does take away from
It's
that.
not I wouldn't say it's not realism, but it just makes the galaxy seem like it's small and like travel is just like completely inconsequential.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's just I think it's a matter of in the newer stuff, it's like they just want to get to the next scene as fast. And it's like they don't want to have to write a scene around like them being in the starship, like traveling or whatever, like they did in. And those were like really good scenes. Like that's how you get the classic scene of like Obi-Wan training Luke with the thing and the helmet, in the first.
No, it's basically like they want to do everything, but they don't want any of it to really make sense.
Yeah, yeah,
Like they want
that's
to have all these scenes on all these different planets, but they don't really want like any of it to really have much of a rhyme or a reason. Because like if this really was like you could just travel from like anywhere to anywhere in like a couple minutes, like it seems like they're making it be,
yeah.
like there wouldn't be like why is everywhere in Star Wars so poor? Like why are there all these poor? And they're like oh it's a big deal about like these outer rim planets. Nobody ever goes to them because it's so far to get to them and everything. And it's like get there in like 5 minutes. Like you can get like anywhere in 5 minutes apparently in the new Star Wars.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That is kind of a weird thing that it does take
It just
away
makes
from
the
it.
whole universe like not really make sense based off like what it was built on.
Well, keeping with that theme of not making sense, um, so we're gonna in the third episode, which is the next episode. Now there's two episodes this season that are like 100% filler, as in like there's literally no meaningful plot progression, like what or maybe like 1% of the episode is meaningful plot progression, and like the rest of it is just 100% or 99% filler. And those are episode 3, which is the next one, and then episode 6, obviously, in a few episodes. And so
What happened
this
in episode
this one
three?
is the
Was that
one.
that was the what the hell was episode three? It was Revenge of the Sith, right?
Yeah, no, I wish. No, it's not. It's nowhere near that good. It's where they have like the scientist guy with the glasses and like the chick that looks like a guy, and
Oh
that they're
right.
like the ex-imperial officers, and they're like budding friendship slash bromance question mark on the.
Yeah, wait a minute. That plot never really went anywhere.
You don't say.
I just realized that. I was like, I thought they were setting up something with that, and it didn't. I guess they weren't.
Filler. That's what I'm saying. It's filler. That's all it was.
No, but
It's
there's a difference between filler and like something that seems like it was supposed to be like part of an episode. It was supposed to lead somewhere, but it didn't. Like filler is just like it kind of like is self-contained, but
yeah.
it's like really connect with anything.
So I think the only connection that this episode has with anything else that happens this season is it just shows you that woman is like still loyal to the Empire essentially, and she's kind of like working from the inside to like sabotage the New Republic. Like that's really all that it does. But like you could have covered that in like a 30-second to 1 minute like clip. Like there didn't need to be a whole episode around that, like um but yeah, that was pretty much the entire episode. And I guess in between the filler, the only thing that's meaningful that happens like in the actual plot in this episode is after he gets his bath and he gets redeemed in the living waters or whatever. Then they like go back to where whatever planet the Mandalorians are hiding out on. Um, but that's like the only thing that like is just them traveling from point A to point B. Other than that, there's like nothing in this episode that's meaningful in any way. Um, so yeah, that gives that brings us to the fourth episode, which was I think that was the one where they had the kid that got kidnapped and by the pterodactyl. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they so the for some reason the Mandalorians like to like hang out on a beach where like giant monsters attack them all the time for no reason.
So it seems.
So then like the pterodactyl like kidnaps the one like young Mandalorian. So then like his dad and like the rest of the main characters have to stage like a rescue mission, but it's like the most like drawn out slow rescue mission in the history of rescue missions, where they have to like
They have to manually climb a mountain.
make camp. No, before they manually climb the mountain, they have to make camp at the bottom of that mountain and then wait a whole night to go to fucking climb it. They have to camp out at the bottom of this mountain and then wait like a whole day to climb it to try and save the kid. And it's like, I mean, I understand supposed to be a suspension of disbelief because it's science fiction or whatever, but like, how are we supposed to believe that kid isn't dead yet? You know what I mean? Like, how are we supposed to believe that this kid has not been digested by this giant
You know
pterodactyl
why?
thing?
You know why?
Why?
You go in the middle of the woods.
Why? Because that's where they
I
were.
don't even know who that is. Is that Joe Rogan?
What?
Was that Joe Rogan?
No.
I don't know where that soundbite was from. Um, but yeah, so I guess the only important thing that happens in this episode is it's kind of like reestablishing Bo-Katan as like the leader, I guess, and like the
Bo-Katan?
what?
Bo-Katan?
Yeah, Bo-Katan. Um,
Okay.
so it kind of reestablishes her as like a leader of sorts, and it's like for some reason, and I find it a little strange, but it's whatever. That like the armorer, who's that chick with the helmet with the horns, who's like kind of the de facto leader of like
Oh
uh,
yeah, the blacksmith or whatever she
the
is.
blacksmith, yeah, but they call her the armorer, but she's like the de facto leader of their tribe or whatever. But she just kind of like rolls over and lets Bo-Katan like take charge, kind of, which I thought was a little strange, but like okay. Um, so yeah, they do end up getting the kid back. So all right, sure. That's pretty much that whole episode is that. So they're really stretching the plot points, like really like, and it's kind of in a way it's like okay because they're kind of like filling the gaps with like action, some good action and whatever. But like I don't know, it's just the plot points are just stretched so thin. It's just kind of like, like I don't know. I know there's a Hollywood writer's strike right now, but like I'm pretty sure this show was written before the writer's strike, you know? So like I feel like they could have done a better job of like filling these episodes out. So like the next episode, episode 5, um that one is just about like they're going to get like a base camp or whatever on Carl Weathers' planet, but they have to like help him fight off the space pirates so that he gives them and then he like rewards them by giving them like a big piece of land on the planet or whatever, so they can relocate there, so they don't have to like camp out on the beach with the monsters on the other planet. So I guess that's a good business move on their part. But um,
Yeah, like, why did they want to be in that hole next to the monster area so much?
that's a good question, and I have no idea why. Like they were just like there for some reason. I don't know why. Like yeah, that's another thing that's kind of
They're the
strange.
greatest warrior race of all time. They make camp in the stupidest places possible. That's how they survived so long.
I was just gonna say, like, that's kind of a plot hole if you think about it, because it's like you said, the Mandalorian's the greatest race of warriors, and it's like they couldn't find anywhere better to set up camp than like out in the open where like giant fucking dinosaurs eat them like every day. Like,
Like, oh, the kid, he's been taken. Oh well.
yeah. So, but yeah, but I mean, there's like I said, there's good action in between, so it's passable, you know. And same thing with the sixth episode. Like they kind of tie up like the pirate subplot by having like the main pirate bad guy shows up to try and like get Carl Weathers, but then
But the one pirate got away.
yeah, that one pirate still got away though. But yeah, so like the rest of the pirates get blown up because the Mandalorians come to the rescue or whatever and
So
blow them
how
up.
good was the CGI?
Good enough. Better than what's his face? What's that really? The CGI that everybody hates. Moduk from Ant Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
Hey, I didn't see that yet. What are you talking about? Don't ruin it for me. Still
Well,
haven't seen
there's
that or Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Or, well,
really.
actually, I don't think I've seen any Marvel movies this year.
Wow, you're slacking.
What came out this year?
Pretty much that Ant Man and the Ant Man Quantumania and Guardians 3.
Actually, I think the only movie I saw the Black Panther 2. I saw Thor. That was last year.
That came out at the end of the Black Panther 2 came out at the end of last year. That was
I didn't watch it in the theater. I watched it on Disney Plus.
same. Yeah,
Anyway,
but I actually saw both of those, Ant-Man 3 and Guardians 3 in theaters, and they were both pretty good. Although,
probably gonna go see Guardians this week or next week.
yeah, it's definitely worth the watch. It's good. But yeah, but there's but yeah, the CGI is fine in this. It's better than CGI Luke Skywalker, that's for sure. So
So they fight, and then the pirates, and then what was the next episode? Episode 4 was the pirates. What was episode 5?
that was episode 5 was the pirates. Episode 4 was the dinosaurs kidnapping the kid.
Okay, what was episode 6 then?
And then episode 6 was
Was that Jack Black and Lizzo?
yes, that was the second, like, pretty much completely filler episode of the season, which was they go to another planet because they need to try and, like, or for some reason they decide that they need to try to, like, reunite Bo-Katan with, like, all the rest of her people, which are, like, the Mandalorians that don't wear their helmets. Also, I love, and by love I mean hate, how there's supposed to be, like, this grand divide in the Mandalorians between the two different tribes, and the big sticking point between the two of them is that one of the tribes believes that you're supposed to have your helmet on at all times and the other one doesn't.
Okay, so here's the
It's
thing.
like,
Hold on. Here's
yeah,
the thing. And this
yes,
is why I think this is like the dumbest thing ever. Well, I don't think that's dumb. I actually think that kind of makes sense. It's almost like they got some writers that like know Star Wars. They got some writers that have no clue about Star Wars. And then they have other writers that like only know new Star Wars.
right.
So it's like
Which is probably
everything that
worse
doesn't
than not
really.
knowing Star Wars at all. But go on.
Yeah, but like I don't know if you know, but I'm pretty sure the original reason for like Boba Fett being a thing and him being a Mandalorian was that Mandalorians never remove their helmets, and that's why they're like you never see Boba Fett without his helmet. But it
Right.
turns out that he doesn't even give a shit about that because he's not one of the ones who keeps his helmet on. In fact, he's not even really in a Mandalorian tribe, so it doesn't make any sense. Like the whole uh, reason, like plot wise justification for why they even created the idea that these fucking people, which doesn't even make any sense anyway, we never remove our helmets. Whoa, who cares? But like,
Yeah.
the whole justification for that was because of Boba Fett, and it turns out that he's not even one of the ones who always keeps his helmet on.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't actually think of that before, but you're actually right. That makes it even worse, to be honest.
Yeah, and then, but that's I don't think something that really changed because that was the Boba Fett series, and that was also before that. Like I think in the prequels they kind of ruined that too because with the whole Django
Yeah,
Fett
because Django
storyline,
took his helmet off around
yeah, and how
people.
how that all shakes out and everything, right?
Yeah.
So I don't get it. I think it's just anyway. But then I get it that they're like there's like the super hardcore like religious ones that will never take off their
Yeah,
helmets,
it's
and
like
like
the
the other ones are like
Catholics versus the Protestants, basically.
and then there's like the modern. They're like the modern cool. They're like the hip church, like the one that has like the hipster douchebag acoustic guitar player. Or they know they have electric guitar, but they're still playing gospel music.
Yeah.
That's like the ones that take their helmets off.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a good way to look at it. But
Yeah,
um
it's like the Christian rock. Like it's like you're not making rock music any better. You're just making Christianity. Or no, you're making Christianity any better. You're just making rock music worse.
yeah, pretty much. So, but yeah, so that's like the whole sixth episode is that they go to the planet Jack Black slash Lizzo and go on another, like, pointless side quest. To fucking to it's like they get to the planet and it's like, oh well, I could tell you and let you go to exactly where these people are because you just want to come here and talk to them, but I need you to do this other thing for me before I do that, and that's going to take the whole episode, so let's do that
Yeah,
for the
like
rest.
hold on. I guess it cut the justification was like very flimsy because they're like, oh, we don't want anyone to think that we need police, so we're gonna hire you as like our police.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was that whole episode basically, and it gave them an excuse to, like, get some super battle droids back in there and some regular battle droids too for
Yeah, and I
whatever.
like how the Mandalorian was like kicking the battle droids, like when CM Punk was like poking and kicking Vince McMahon when he was trying to get his contract signed.
Yeah, he was just poking them to see if he could, like, set one off or whatever. And it's just like,
2011 wants the reference back.
yeah, pretty much. So But yeah, and another thing that's like going on at this point, it becomes so. I think the only other thing that I recognize about this episode is in this episode, it kind of becomes painfully obvious to me that like the Mandalorian himself is actually taking a back seat to Bo-Katan in this season. Like it just
Well, here's the thing. I felt for a little bit. I was like, I feel like they might kind of be doing that, but I feel like as it got further on, it wasn't really like. I feel like it was more like, you know, it's kind of like 50-50 a bit. I understand they're giving her more screen time, but I didn't feel like she was really overshadowing him too much. I felt like it's at one point I thought it might go that direction, but I felt like it was pretty even
well,
toward
this
the
was
end.
like toward the end, like toward this and toward the end of the season. In my like the way I see it is toward the end of the season, this specifically kind of led me in that direction. Like I in the beginning it was more about him, but then it felt like they were kind of splitting it 50-50. I agree with you. And then it definitely felt more like she was overshadowing him, and this and like the next episode really make me feel that way. But
I felt like this episode was when I was like, oh, she might be overshadowing him, but then the next episode and the ending, I was like, oh, they're both just part of the plot. They're
gotcha.
both just there to sell merchandise.
Yeah, we
Anyway,
all
if you can sell a boy and a girl Mandalorian, then you sell twice as much merchandise, right?
well, you're not wrong there. So
Can we take a quick break before I got to go to the bathroom. Maybe you can read some ads from our sponsors.
sure, I'll take care of that. No problem.
All right, be back in like 5.
You got it. So yeah, I don't really have any sponsors. So but we will fill the void. So but yeah, I you guys know I can talk forever, so I will talk as long as I need to because that's just what I do. But um, so yeah, I'll expound upon my thoughts about that a little more. So I think Star Wars has gotten into a really bad habit of like making a show not about the main character of that show. So they did it on Boba Fett, and that was something that I had alluded to before, was that in the Boba Fett show, like literally like several episodes in the middle of the Boba Fett show were completely commandeered by the Mandalorian. Um, and like he wasn't even there. Like Boba Fett wasn't even in the episodes. Like he just wasn't even there. And that was just really stupid to me, like, because the show is, in that instance, the show is the Book of Boba Fett, so it's like, why isn't it about Boba Fett, and like, what's Boba Fett doing when the Mandalorian is like commandeering several episodes? You know, like, what's Boba Fett doing when the Mandalorian is there and he's like going to see Grogu with Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka, and like Grogu's deciding that he wants to go back with the Mandalorian and like go back with him, and it's like where is Boba Fett throughout this entire time? Like the show is Boba Fett and he's not even there. And it's kind of the same thing happened in the Mandalorian season 3, is like there's episodes where you either barely see him or he's there, but it feels like he's like a background character, you know, or he's like taking a back seat to like Bo-Katan or whoever, and it's like, okay, I understand that you want to like build other characters up, but it shouldn't come at the expense of the main character who the show is actually about. Like if you want to make Bo-Katan the main character, then like make another show called Bo-Katan and make her the main character. Like it's not hard, you know, but for whatever reason, I guess that's just the direction that they go in. And to finish the thought about this episode, we're talking about episode 6 here. It's kind of like they get to the point where you know they finish their fetch quest with Jack Black and Lizzo, and then they finally get to coming back to you know the actual plot, which is trying to reunite all the Mandalorians. And then she has
What
to
do you think
like
of Jack Black's beard?
it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, we get to after they finish their fetch quest, then she has to like fight the guy for like the ownership of like that her tribe
Hold up.
again.
Hold up.
What?
When it comes to Jack Black's beard, Do you think he just grew that himself and they were like, "We'll use it," or do you think that he had to grow that for the role? Because I
I
remember
think
when he had that beard in real life.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's the first thing. I think he just grew it himself, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, we could totally use this to make you look like this crazy outer space guy that we're trying to make you look like."
Oh, actually, I just googled Jack Black beard, and it turns out that Jack Black has like his own beard oil, so maybe he grew it so he could sell beard oil.
Maybe, I guess that's a that's a thing that could happen. Um, but yeah, so they go and at the end of this episode, she fights the guy for ownership of the tribe essentially, and she obviously wins. So now they're all supposed to be reunited at this point, right? So like there was the only thing that mattered as far as like the overall plot of the show that happened was that was that she fought the guy and got her people to follow her again. So by beating him,
Okay, how many? Without looking, quick quiz.
sure.
Who do you think has more Instagram followers, Lizzo or Jack Black? And how large do you think the discrepancy is?
I'd say Lizzo, and I'd say it's probably a pretty big discrepancy.
What would be your guess for each of them?
Oof. I don't know what the. I'm not on Instagram, so I
How
don't
about
know.
this? I'm gonna have you guess Jack Black, and then I'll tell you what his is, and then you can guess Lizzo based off of that.
All right, I'd say he probably has like 2 million followers on Instagram.
Jack Black has 11 million followers on Instagram.
Okay, so I'm gonna say Lizzo has about like 20 million then.
That's what?
I'm gonna say Lizzo has 20 million.
She actually only has 13.4 million. She has
Oh wow.
more, but it's not that large of a gap.
I would have thought it was. I mean, I'm not saying that because I like Lizzo better than Jack Black, even though I don't have a problem with
You just know
Lizzo.
she's more popular with
I
people
just
who would
know
be on
Lizzo is
Instagram.
much more of a pop culture figure than Jack Black is. Although I guess there's a lot of people I think more from like our age bracket that are probably more into Jack Black. Um, but yeah, so
Uh-huh.
that kind of brings us to the seventh episode of the show, which now we finally get to start the actual plot of the series, I think, or the plot of the season. So um, we find out in this episode that Moff Gideon is back for some reason, because I guess that's what Star Wars
Yeah,
likes to do.
yeah, that's what they like to do. They just like to Palpatine return somehow to everything.
The villain returns somehow. That's that's the
Uh-huh.
perfect way to describe it. So, um, but yeah, so he's back and he's doing things, and they're also at this point they're trying to like backfill like
Didn't they imply that like the Mandalorians like saved him or broke him free or something like that? But then it
no, that
turns
was
out that it was just because their armor was like made out of Beskar. But what makes no sense is like they're like, oh, they made it seem like he didn't start mining the Beskar until after they broke him out. So I wasn't really quite sure about that.
Yeah, that was an unexplained plot point, I believe. But when they broke him out, like when it said, "Oh, there's like remnants of Beskar," so it had to be Mandalorians that broke him out. Like they made it seem like the New Republic was gonna try and like blame the Mandalorians for busting him out, and then like the New Republic was gonna attack the Mandalorians. Like that's what they were implying was gonna happen, but then that just never happened. Like,
What I thought was going to happen was I thought it was going to turn out that it was the other Mandalorian tribe, the
oh
ones that
yeah,
like
that's what
didn't
I
wear their
thought too.
helmets
Actually,
that got
yeah.
like hired or something like that. Yeah.
That's what I thought too. Is that like the like double agent chick was gonna like somehow have ties to like hiring like the tribe that takes their helmets off to like bust them out or something. But
Also, what I don't really understand is like the Asian guy from Kim's Convenience was like the X-wing pilot. You know,
yes,
he was like, yeah, the dad from Kim's Convenience was like,
yes,
he's like, oh yeah, I chased this guy down and let him go. So now we're like back last season. So now we're like best friends all of a sudden.
yeah, yeah. It's
I
like
don't get it.
him and I.
I
Yeah, I
feel like
don't
if
know what.
you were in a high speed chase with the cops, and
Yeah,
the cop like was like, all right, I'll let you go because I don't even remember why. And then like a year later, he's like, hey, it's my best friend, the asshole who led me in this high speed chase.
yeah. I'm not sure about that either. I don't understand why they're like super like they're like buddy buddy. I don't know what the deal with that is, but yeah, and also I guess another thing that they're doing as far as that guy goes, they were showing like cameos of characters from like the animated series again, which is like, and they also, I think this is jumping ahead to the eighth episode, but they actually mention what's his name, Admiral Thrawn, who's like the big bad guy
The hell
from.
is that?
He's like the big bad guy from the one animated series from the Rebels, I think, Star Wars Rebels. Um, so like they mentioned him as to imply that like he's coming back, which is probably what's going to happen in the Ahsoka series more than likely. But anyway, so yeah, um, they're also the other thing I wanted to mention is it also feels like they're trying to backfill like shitty unexplained plot points from the new trilogy because in the Star Wars timeline, what the events of the Mandalorian occur before the events of the new Star Wars trilogy, as you could probably already tell by the CGI Luke Skywalker. Um,
Building his Jedi temple.
yeah, building the Jedi Temple that Kylo Ren will eventually destroy. Um, but yeah, so
Do you
they
think we'll get to see Baby Ben?
maybe actually probably I don't know if it maybe in I'm sure there will be something like that in one of the one of the episode or one of the
Ben
shows.
Swallow?
Yeah, no, we won't see him in shirtless mode, I hope. But um but yeah, so they're trying to backfill
Who do you think had who do you think had a better shirtless scene? Thor in Love and Thunder or Kylo Ren in what was that one
the
called? The
Last
shitty
Jedi.
second one that Ryan. Yeah, Last Jedi.
Uh, definitely, uh, definitely Thor.
Definitely the wide boy.
So, but my point is, they're trying to like backfill the whole like cloning thing about like cloning like not like Jango Fett, but cloning like other people. How like they're trying to clone and like splice DNA and like take metachlorines out of like blood, like out of Grogu and all that, and they're trying to like backfill all that information that like they never went over in the new trilogy because obviously like the excuse behind like how Palpatine returned in Rise of Skywalker had something to do with like they cloned him and like the bodies weren't stable and whatever and that decaying and all that shit and he could transfer his consciousness and all that stuff. But like they're trying to like set the table for that in this, which is like okay, that doesn't make that movie suck any less. You know, like if you wanted to make that movie not suck, you would have done all this before you released that movie, not after you released that movie. So I think somebody at Star Wars has a problem with continuity, has a problem with like how to do things in the right order so that they make
All right,
sense.
I think I know it's
Like,
because they just don't have someone who's like overseeing all this stuff. Because in like
I guess not.
you know, yeah, because that's what I heard about like when they did the trilogy with like Ryan Johnson doing one and J.J. Abrams doing the other one. They didn't even know who was going to do the third one until they brought it back to J.J. Abrams
Yeah.
later on. Like it's like they don't really have anybody like because in Marvel they have like people who just make sure everything like which is a hard deal in Marvel because of how many different things properties they have at this point. It's like like keeping track of
They have
freaking
a whole team
protons
in
and
track of
neutrons or something.
they have a whole
Yeah.
team in charge of continuity. You're right, and I have heard and read about that before. Is in the MCU, for example, yes, they do have a whole team in charge of MCU continuity, and
Yeah,
they
but it's way simpler with Star Wars, yet they still fuck it up.
yeah, I was just gonna say like there's not nearly as much shit to keep track of in Star Wars. Like
You gotta
so
remember that Luke Skywalker was not an asshole.
yeah, remember that he was. I guess that was too much. That was too much to ask, um, but yeah, so to wrap up, so they go back, they get everybody together, and they have like the in the seventh episode they have like the tensions between like the two tribes because like we wear our helmets and you don't wear your helmets and shit, and so like yeah they have all the tensions and whatever. So
Did they?
um, yeah, yeah, and then they get in there and they like find out that I guess somehow Moff Gideon like built this giant army of like robot stormtroopers with like Mandalorian armor
Not
and
robots.
like
They're
I don't
just
know what the fuck it
stormtroopers
is.
with armor.
Yeah,
But
like
that's the thing is like, didn't he have those dark troopers last season that were like, you
robots.
know, better
Yes,
than
yes,
the stormtroopers this season?
he did. Yes, but CGI Luke Skywalker sliced them all up though.
Yeah, but his like, you know, I don't know. Were they made out of Beskar?
No, no, those dark troopers were not made out of Beskar.
Well, anyway, his like upgrade was like going backwards. Doesn't make any sense.
Apparently, well, he returned for no reason, and then he has older technology, and then they still outclass the Mandalorians somehow, though. And they also have like fake lightsabers too, I guess, which is whatever. Okay. Um,
No, they were like the things that like the Praetorian guards had. There was like electric
yeah, like
figures.
electric sticks, electric
Yeah.
pole, electrified pole that somehow like blocks the lightsaber. Um,
Uh, yeah.
Yeah. So that they have that, yeah. And then so at the end of the seventh episode, they like make it seem like all hope is lost, and they like capture Mando or whatever, and they make it look like they're gonna execute him, but then they don't for some reason. Uh, and then they like take him away instead, and then somehow he manages in the eighth episode. That comes in and he manages to like bust free all by himself. So in the final episode, I have to say, so they like crash the ship into the planet. Like that's their big plan to like save the planet is and defeat Moff Gideon is like crash the ship into the planet, which is like all right, sure, I guess. Um and so there's a lot of things in this last episode, even though there's a lot of good action in this episode. There's a lot of things that don't make a lot of sense that happened
There's
in
a
this.
lot of things that make you go like,
What?
and then you say it's really.
Weird.
Yes, exactly. So one of the big ones is okay. So Mando breaks free and with the help of Grogu in the oh yeah, Grogu gets an IG-11. He gets like IG-11's like skin to use as like a controller or whatever, which is like kind of funny.
He
Um
has to walk around in it like a mini mech suit.
yeah, exactly. So and they're walking around and like supposedly Moff Gideon can like track their movements throughout the compound or whatever, so he can see where they're going, and they have to like do like the like a hallway fight to get to the end of the hallway to get into like Moff Gideon's like fucking headquarters or whatever. And so he's supposedly tracking them the whole time, right? So they bust into like his headquarters somehow, not encountering him, even though he's tracking them the whole time. They happen upon this like army of Moff Gideon clones in test tubes or chambers or whatever, and somehow there's like some self-destruct button there that they
Just
just
kill them all.
press that kills them all. So like, okay, I have so many questions and so many problems about this scene. Like,
What's the point of like like in introducing them and just immediately killing them?
yes, that's what's that? A. B. Why is there a fucking button you can press to destroy them all? C. Why is the optimal form of Moff Gideon all look the same as like 60-year-old Moff Gideon now? Like, wouldn't it be like a younger, more fit version of him? Wouldn't that make more sense? Like,
Maybe
and
he's got those. He's got the Palpatine. Well, that's what they were saying though. Is like the cloning is kind of weird, like the way it works. I guess like with Palpatine too, right?
I guess, yeah, and then yeah, but the well with Palpatine,
He's a deformed monster.
the suggestion with Palpatine was because like his spirit is so strong or whatever, like the body can't hold it, so it like his
I
force
don't know about
power is
that.
so
That sounds a
strong.
lot like. That sounds a lot.
That's
I
I
don't know.
swear that's what the subtext is with the
To me, that
Palpatine.
sounds like a lot of.
Toilet.
Yes. So, and also the even the biggest question, all those might be legitimate gripes with this sequence, but the biggest one I think is Moff Gideon was tracking them the whole time. So why the fuck didn't he stop them from doing that? Like, why did he stop them from walking into the room and pressing the button to destroy them all?
He was
Like,
too busy preparing his bad guy speech.
apparently he was like, well, I'm going to give a whole speech about my evil plan and how you ruined it. So instead of me stopping you from ruining my evil plan, I'm just going to prepare a speech complaining that you ruined my plan. Like, what the
He had he had he had to make sure that his mustache was adequately twirled.
apparently. And also, actually, that's another thing that I noticed is that I don't think I forget the name of the guy who Giancarlo Esposito, I think, is the guy who plays him. Um, I think, at least I think that's him. I'm not positive, but yeah, I don't think he was supposed to be signed on for this season. So I don't know if you noticed this, but I think they used him as little as possible. Like most of the
Oh,
scenes with him are either
Moff
like,
Gideon, you mean?
yeah, I think it's like most of the scenes with him are like with the helmet on, they don't really show him too much, and he's not like, even in a voiceover, he doesn't have a lot of time on screen, so I feel like he might have not even been supposed to have been in this, but then they were just like, oh, well, we need a big bad guy again, and he's still alive, so let's bring him back. So, um, but I guess if he was dead, it wouldn't matter. They could still bring him back. So, hashtag Palpatine. But anyway, so then they have the final showdown with Moff Gideon, which of course he kicks their asses because why not? And then fucking Bo-Katan shows up after leading the charge to fight all the bad guys, and then she shows up and takes on Moff Gideon one on one. So actually, here's something that kind of annoys me. So in the seventh episode, and then also in the eighth episode here, they they bring to light something very interesting, like a very, what you would seem to be a very interesting and huge plot point. And that is that apparently when the Empire like bombed the shit out of Mandalore and like destroyed the whole planet or whatever, apparently that happened when Bo-Katan was in charge, and she surrendered to Moff Gideon, and then he did it anyway and like blew the planet up essentially, even though she surrendered to him to try and spare their lives or whatever. So obviously she wanted revenge on him for like double crossing her or whatever. But like, to me, that's a pretty big and interesting plot point, and they just kind of like mention it in passing, like it doesn't. It's like, oh yeah, everything's his fault, and there's this big thing between us, and I want my revenge on him and shit. And it's like, why were you giving me like several episodes of filler when you could have been like fleshing that out more? You know what I mean? Like there wasn't even like any flashbacks or like anything like that. You know, it was just like kind of casually mentioned like over a campfire. You know what I mean? Like it just, I think it's
Hmm.
is really stupid. Like it, like they just,
I don't know. It didn't really bother me that much.
well, yeah, I mean, to me, it did bother me because like that seemed like it was supposed to be a huge plot point to like set up like Bo-Katan actually being the one to like face Moff Gideon in like the final fight. You know what I mean? Which ends up happening. So because after he kicks Mando's ass and sends him to the side, then she comes in and fights him, and they fight, and then she actually loses as well to him, which kind of surprised me, to be honest, because I thought they were going to give her like her moment of like actually besting him in combat, you know. Um,
Uh,
but then they don't even do that, and then and then we suffer the big and most important casualty, and really only meaningful casualty of the entire season of The Mandalorian, in this moment where the dark saber dies. Rip, rip,
oh yeah,
rip.
what about the tank Mandalorian guy? You didn't even mention him.
Yeah, he died at the end of the seventh episode, and like that didn't really. It felt like they were trying to make it matter, but it didn't feel like it mattered that much because like he was just like a
He was
side.
like right on the he was like right on the cusp of his death mattering.
Yeah, pretty much. So, but yeah, then the dark saber died, and I was actually, the dark saber dying kind of surprised me more than anything because I was like, they made such a big deal about this fucking thing, and then they just fucking smash it. It's like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. I thought that was kind of dumb, but and also I was thinking like, okay, why did he smash it when he could have just taken it from her? Like,
Because he
he could
didn't
have just.
need it because he's all powerful or some shit like that. Even though he
Eh.
died like 3 minutes later.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and then he dies because they crashed the fucking plane into him. He fucking dies. So
Yeah, they bring in the ship and then Obi-Wan is like,
Another happy landing.
yeah, pretty much. So so yeah, they blow him up. Oh yeah, and then Grogu activates a force bubble to save Bo-Katan and Jose P. Pascal from getting incinerated. So
and everybody's like,
Make pee.
yeah, there you go. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. And then they fucking Mando and Grogu retire to a nice country home on the backside of Carl Weathers' planet. Because
uh,
for some reason they are there instead of with the rest
they
of the
retire, they
Mandalorians.
retire, they retire to Carl Weathers' backside.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, and they finally fixed Frick finally fixes IG-11, so now he's like back to normal. Because like Star Wars, this is a big overarching point that I kind of want to make. I guess I'll make it now. Star Wars, ever since the sequel trilogy, has a real hard time of letting go of characters. I will say that. Like it seems like they like you know how in the sequel trilogy they like so recklessly and carelessly killed like the best characters the Star Wars franchise has ever seen,
Sure.
and then like now it's like, oh well, we got to be real hesitant to kill like giant commando Mandalorian with no name. You know what I mean? Like we got to be real
Did he
careful
have
how
a
we hit.
name?
We got to be real careful how
Did he
we
have a
handle his
name?
death. I don't know what it is if he did. But it's like we got to be real careful how we handle every death because everybody was mad at us the way we handled the all the deaths in the sequel trilogy, and it's like, well, maybe because those fucking characters actually meant something, and like most of these characters are just fucking throwaways that you actually could kill a significant portion of them, and it would actually enhance the story by killing them, you know. But like I don't know. I do have. I think that they're hesitant of killing anybody off.
His name is Vizsla, Vizsla.
There we go.
Vizsla. Did they ever even say that?
I don't know.
Paz Vizsla. That's his name.
Okay, I don't know if I don't think they ever said his name on screen, but maybe they did and I just missed it. I don't know.
Oh, he's voiced by Jon Favreau. I didn't even know that.
Nice. Well, that I
And
guess Favreau's got less
he's
work next season then.
he's portrayed by hold on, he's physically portrayed by Tate Fletcher, a stunt performer and
Oh,
mixed
so that's
martial
that's
artist.
another overarching point that I want to make is I think the Mandalorian figured out the way that they can low budget shoot everything now, and it's they just get a bunch of stuntmen in suits and like never show anybody's face, and then just like get the actors to act that they want to portray them to like voice them
Yeah, that's like
over.
the Disney dream. They don't
Yeah,
want you to own any of your own likeness.
yeah. So like fucking like I read somewhere that I think
Oh,
Pedro Pascal like
you know,
wasn't even in the suit the whole season. Like he wasn't
no,
on
I
set
read for
for
a lot
this.
of the scenes, and that was true in the other seasons too. But you know what they should have done? I just had a great idea.
What's that?
They should have said like Cara Dune converted to being Mandalorian off screen, and then just had her with the helmet on the whole time.
Yeah, so they could have had her there without actually having her there. That's actually a great
Yeah,
idea. I'm surprised they
they
didn't
should
think of that.
hire me. They
Yeah.
should hire me.
I mean, not for nothing, but you would probably write better shit than I think a lot of people would write better shit than half the shit they write. Like
My
this
passing understanding of Star Wars lore would be better than most of their writers.
probably, yeah. Which so that kind of as the season wraps up, that kind of leads me to my overall feeling of the season was like I thought it was all right. Like there was good action and like there was some good story elements like in the last couple episodes, although all that stuff felt like really rushed cuz they crammed it into like 2 episodes. But like there was just so much filler and lazy writing and like just I don't know, it just the writing was not there like it was. It was just like so many. I mean, I get the Mandalorian is like primarily fetch quests, but like it always felt like there's like something more important behind the fetch quests in the previous seasons versus this season just felt like they're killing time. You know, I don't know if you got that feeling too, but like it just felt like a lot of time killing this season for me, which like you never want to be watching a show and
Wait, so
feel
what you're saying is,
You're hurting the kids.
no, I'm not saying that actually.
okay.
What I'm saying is, you never want to be watching a show and feel like you're watching like the person who wrote the show or directed the show is just filling time. You know what I mean? And that's what a lot of this season felt like.
Unless you're watching Goku and Piccolo going to driving school.
No, there it is. I was actually going to bring that up earlier, but I didn't. So there you go. We came back to it.
That's the best filler episode.
Yeah, but that's kind of my feeling on it. I don't know if you'd care to give your take on it overall.
I don't know. I thought it was pretty average, and I don't have like really much like overwhelming negativity or positivity toward it, to be honest.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know. I feel like probably on par with season two. This is season three, right?
yeah.
Okay, so probably on par with season two. I, I don't know. I feel like I want to say I liked it more than Boba Fett, but at the same time, like I like what's his name, the Maori guy who plays Boba Fett.
Tamora Morrison.
Yeah, Tamura Morrison. I like him,
Yeah,
and
and he was actually on set for Boba Fett.
yeah. So I guess I don't know. I feel like I'm maybe a little bit better than Boba Fett, but I don't know. What do
You
you?
just kind of
I
have like a
give.
blank feeling. See, that's kind of it's. I'm kind of saying the same thing too. Is it's kind of like you didn't hate it, you didn't love it. Like it was all
It
right.
had good
You know,
moments, but there were certain things that like now that I realize it, like the whole plot point of like that imperial like
the Imperial
lady
officers.
who that imperial like sympathizer lady,
Yeah.
right? Like it just that didn't go anywhere, did it? Am I
No,
forgetting something?
not
Like
really. So they showed her when Moff Gideon returned in the one episode. They like
you know who
showed.
she looks like? Brie Larson.
Yeah, she does look like Brie Larson actually. But yeah, they showed her talking to him on like the hologram or whatever, and that was pretty much it. Like it like
Talking to who?
they showed her talking to Moff Gideon on the hologram, like
Her
on the.
name is wait R Arlitz Hadra is this her Hadrassian or something like that?
I guess I don't know. I'm not
Let's
good with
Google.
I'm not good with names of second banana characters, so I
The
don't
thing
know.
is, I don't even know if they mention these names. I'm googling her picture.
Well, it was like actually we talked about this before, like in the original, even in the original Star Wars trilogy,
It's
like
not her.
they didn't mention like any of the names of like the bounty hunters or like a lot of the characters like
Bosk.
yeah like they didn't mention that like they
Boba
didn't.
Fett's the only one that was mentioned by name.
Well, I you know what, did they even mention his name in The Empire Strikes Back though?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh
Because
yeah, they
he
did. They
said
did. They
he said
get the Boba
give
Fett's
the
ship or whatever.
no. I think Darth Vader said. I think, but both Darth Vader and Lando said Boba
I
Fett.
don't remember Darth Vader saying Boba Fett
'Cause
though.
no, he said something about like Boba Fett taking Han Solo or something like that.
Yeah.
Like after, like when they were on Bespin, right?
Yeah,
He's
I
like,
think yeah. Lando mentioned Boba Fett by name. I
he's like
think,
Han Solo will be delivered to Boba Fett. I don't remember something like that.
I don't remember Darth Vader saying his name. But my point is, like a lot of those I think it's the same on the Mandalorian. Like I think a lot of those characters just aren't named, or if they name them, like they just say it like once in passing, and then they just don't bring it up again. Like so, I don't know,
Yeah.
but um, but yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like the drift of Star Wars these days is because like what else does they have going on with Star Wars? Like they put out a lot of content. Most recently, like they had Andor, which I did you watch that or no?
No.
I didn't watch that either, but I hear like it got good reviews. But it's like I didn't want to watch it because like who fucking cares about Cassian Andor? You know what I mean? Like I get like okay, it might be intriguing because like in the time period in the Star Wars timeline it's set, it's supposed to be in like the beginnings of the rebellion or whatever, which is an interesting.
Andor.
Yeah, the Andor series. It's
Okay.
but it's like a
It
character.
doesn't. The thing is, the character's dead. And it doesn't really connect to any of the other plot lines that are currently going on.
Exactly. Plus the character sucked in the Rogue One movie too. So
But people thought he was cute. That's like the only reason he got a movie or a show.
he got his own. I guess that's they thought the actor was cute, so even though the character sucked and he died, that's good enough to get you a freaking Disney Plus show, I guess. Apparently,
I
um,
mean, with Star Wars money and because they're like, yeah. You know who
yeah.
he looks like? He kind of looks like Drew McIntyre a little bit.
Does he? I don't know about that.
Did you watch Andor?
No, I did not watch Andor for that reason because I just felt like it didn't matter. Like it
He
just
looks
felt
too much like Drew McIntyre.
no, not that. I just felt like it was inconsequential, so I didn't watch it. Um, but they had those animated show. They had some animated shows like Tales of the Jedi, I think it was. Um,
Okay, I didn't watch any. I'm so behind. I'll watch the next movie, I guess. There's gonna be like a Ray movie coming out, right?
so that I was going to get to that, but the next thing that's coming out is the Ahsoka show, which is in August, I think, of this
Is it
year.
live action or is it animated?
It's live action. That like the
What time
so
period is it in?
that I don't know, but I think it's supposed to be present day, or it's supposed to be like Mandalorian time period.
Okay, but like, didn't Ahsoka kind of like exist since the Clone Wars?
Yes, so Ahsoka existed as Anakin's apprentice in the Clone Wars era, and then she was kind of like for in like the in between time between like episode 3 and episode 4. She was kind of, I think she was in Rebels too, in Star Wars Rebels a little bit, which was the animated series that kind of takes place in between those time periods, and she was in that. And so she hasn't been cast in live action ever until The Mandalorian, which is like the post, like the in between episode 6 and episode 7 time period. So I think that's when Ahsoka is, the show is supposed to take place. Um, so
Uh,
because they're trying to like fit her in, I think with like what they call the quote unquote Mando verse, which is like all the Star Wars stuff that occurs like in between that episode 6 and episode 7 time period. So like the Boba Fett show, the Mandalorian, and I think they're trying to fit her into that too. So that's the next thing that's going to happen. But yeah, I did hear about that. That what you mentioned with apparently they're gonna start doing movies with, I don't know if it's gonna be a spin-off movie with Ray or they're gonna start a new trilogy. I'm not sure what they're gonna do, but they did confirm that Daisy Ridley, I think it is, she was gonna return as Ray for another project. So um,
I think
yay.
you saw some movie where she was like a yoga instructor or something, and she was like a side character. I was like, that's kind of the impression I get.
That's what you would, if you were to cast her in a role. That's what you would cast her as.
Yeah, I could see her doing that. I mean, not like the main character of a Star Wars, trilogy, and then
Yeah.
another one apparently.
Yeah. Well, they might have some problems with that because they're. I don't know who else is gonna come back to that because I know. What's his name? I don't think either Oscar Isaac or John Boyega said they were probably not going to come back.
Well, that's because
Um,
both of them are like actually real actors.
they're like, this sucked. I don't want to be part of this anymore. I know Oscar
Maybe.
Isaac. I know Oscar Isaac said that because I know I saw post the sequel trilogy interviews with both of them, and Oscar Isaac was kind of just like, yeah, this was terrible. I don't want to be in this anymore. And John Boyega said they were racist or something. I don't know. So it was weird.
They were racist.
That's what he said, like in an interview. That's
I
what he
don't know that.
said. So I don't know if it's true, but I'm just saying that's what he said. But yeah, so neither of them seem very keen on returning, which is whatever. Because I feel like the best thing they could do with the sequel trilogy is like memory hole that whole thing, but like that's not going to happen because like it's the newest content. So, um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of I don't know. I think Star Wars is kind of in a weird place right now because it's just like you have the Mandalorian stuff has been or like everything that's happening in like the quote unquote Mandoverse has been like the most quality and entertaining Star Wars that we've gotten of the new Star Wars, but yet like all of that is set like in the past from the sequel trilogy, so it's like kind of weird. And like they're really slow walking like Grogu as a character, which is like I get it because he's Yoda's species, whatever that species is.
He ages slowly.
Yeah, because he's like
How old is he? Like they said, he's like 50 or something.
yeah, they in the first season of The Mandalorian they said he was like 50, and Yoda was 900 when he died.
But
So
what makes no sense is like, how did this species evolve if they like it's like, oh, I've been alive for 50 years and I still can't fend for myself. That seems like the shittiest evolutionary like.
well, that's why they're extinct essentially. That's why there's like none of them left.
But how did they even exist as I guess maybe if they're force sensitive, they're really good at that.
That is true. Yeah, the that species is supposed to be like the most force sensitive, which is why Yoda was supposed to be the greatest Jedi or whatever. But actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that because I totally forgot there was an interesting plot point in passing one of the episodes. Where they were doing a flashback with Grogu, where he flashed back to like how he was saved from Order 66 at the temple, um, and
Yeah, I
they
saw that.
yeah, with the guy, and it was the guy who was the same actor for Jar Jar Binks. was
Oh,
the,
it was? I didn't
yeah,
realize
that
that.
guy who saved him
So that
in
was
the.
his it was his web redemption.
Yes, it was his web redemption. Was the guy who was the actor for Jar Jar Binks, played a different character, played a Jedi temple guard who like got him out and saved him. So, um, which was kind of an interesting thing. But again, like that was a little interesting like nugget, but that was just kind of like buried under all like the filler and the dumb writing to me. So yeah, yeah. So I don't know. It's just in a weird spot right now. Like we've seen worse, like obviously like with the sequel trilogy and whatnot, but I don't know. It feels like Star Wars is kind of missing like that spark of like, for lack of better word, like hope. Like that like spark of intrigue that like a lot of the old projects had. And I feel like, again, like, not to put all the onus on the sequel trilogy, but it kind of really is. Like, I feel like the sequel trilogy bombing so much kind of like let the air out of the sails, like, just for the whole franchise so bad. You know what I mean?
I guess.
So, um,
I
but
think everything about the I don't know. I just can't be excited for Star Wars that much anymore. I go in with tempered expectation, but it still has its moments that make me like interested or feeling. It elates me slightly. So
yeah.
I guess it's worth it for that, especially when I'm watching it on a streaming service that I don't even pay for.
Well, I agree with you there. That's fair enough. So,
I mean, which I do pay for, of course.
yeah. Yeah, I retract that statement. We both totally pay for it.
Yeah. What are you talking about? And if anyone asks, I've never smoked weed, especially those at the border.
Well, I think where you are, it's legal, so I wouldn't worry about that. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I don't know when they're gonna do a fourth season of. It'll probably be a while, I would think, before they do a fourth season of The Mandalorian. But I mean, I'm sure we're gonna get it. It's just a matter of time. But yeah, in between now and then, I don't know if what else they have on the docket for live action. I know they have a bunch of animated stuff like Bad Batch, and there's supposed to be like a Palpatine like origin story that's like an animated show, I think too. And there's some other stuff. But
Here we
for
go. Let's go through this before we go. From May 2023, every new Star Wars movie and TV show confirmed so far.
sure,
We have, and then we're gonna do this, and then we'll sign out.
sounds
It
good.
says right here, December. Okay, it says here that next three Star Wars movies are supposedly going to be December 22nd, 2023, December 19th, 2025, and December 17th, 2027.
Wait, movies? So there's already supposed to be like another
I don't know. It
movie, but
claims it says they're penciled into a release schedule, and the first one was meant to be a Patty Jenkins film, but that has since been delayed. And it is worth noting that the 2023 release date looks like it's been unofficially removed by Disney. For now, these are the release dates Disney has announced. So basically, they said there was going to be a 2023 movie, but they didn't like say there isn't. But it doesn't seem like it's going to
I was
happen.
gonna say I don't even think that's in pre. I don't think they even have a movie in pre-production right now. So
Yeah, but it said it was revealed at the Star Wars Celebration 2023 that a new movie is coming that will focus on Rey. The film will be set after the rise of Skywalker, and we'll see Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order. It will be directed by, I can't pronounce this name, who helmed Miss Marvel episodes 4 and 5. I mean, why are they giving these like big movies to people who don't have like this whoever this person is directed Miss Marvel episodes 4 and 5? Like that's not exactly like a
a
it's
stellar
like,
resume.
yeah, I mean, I'm all for
I
giving people like
she directed like
the
one of the most unwatched shows in Disney Plus history.
not even only
A
two
couple
episodes of it.
episodes of it, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what they're
Watchmen
doing.
showrunner Damon Lindoff and the Strain. That's a little bit more, I guess. It's the Strain executive story editor Justin Brett Gibbs were originally attached to write, but exited the project. Stephen Knight is working on the screenplay instead, with Kathleen Kennedy saying the script is
That's
weeks
it.
away. Quote. Speaking to IGN, she said, we're 15 years out from Rise of Skywalker, so we're post-war, post-First Order, and the Jedi are in disarray." She said, "There's lots of blah blah." So this movie's supposed to be 15 years after the end of Rise of Skywalker. Are they gonna like age up Daisy Ridley, or are they like, well, being a star has really been rough on her, so we don't even need to do that?
Probably the second thing, more than
Yeah,
likely.
and then they're saying they're doing a James Mangold Star Wars movie, a David Fillion Star Wars movie.
Oh,
Whoever that
Filoni.
guy, David
He's
Filoni.
one
Yeah,
of the
like
guys who writes the Mandalorian with Favreau, so like that would actually be good. Him and Favreau write the Mandalorian, so I think.
okay. So hold on. It says the James Mangold film will be set thousands of years in the past, focusing on the first Jedi.
Oh, that's supposed to be there. There was they they were rumored that they were going to do a movie revolving around like the old Republic, like like way in the past, like so
It
that might be
says
good to
it's going
see.
to be like supposedly the origins of the Jedi. Anyway, Dave Filoni's one is supposed to be uh it's supposed to bring together the Disney Plus shows so far, The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, The Book of Boba Fett, into a cinematic event that will take place between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
See, I was thinking they would do something like that. Like I was thinking that's what they were building towards. So that would actually make a lot of sense. And also, if Filoni is writing that, that would make a lot of sense too. Because like I think him and Favreau write
And
like
listen to
most of that,
this.
like so basically that movie with that you're talking about that Filoni's going to write is going to be like the Mandoverse Star Wars movie essentially.
I guess it says here Takia Waititi. Is that how you say that guy's name? The guy who did Thor
Yeah.
will direct an upcoming Star Wars movie co-written by Christy Wilson Cairns, who helped script whatever these other movies he did, and it says no other details have been yet announced, other
Yeah.
than that the movie will be heading to cinemas. And Kathleen Kennedy previously told Total Film in a recent interview that the film is headed for a late 2023 release, but said we haven't locked anything in. It says seems very unlikely that the movie will make a 2023 release date. Last we heard, it's still being written.
Yeah, I mean it's
Um,
already because right now we're already in May of so like toward the end of May of 2023. So there's no way like if the movie's still being written, there's no way that between May of 2023 and 7 months that they're gonna like
yeah,
fully.
even if they started filming tomorrow, they're
There's
just
no way. Like
it would be
that's
they basically have to have the most rushed production schedule.
and thus
Anyway,
turn out another turd like the fucking sequel
Sean
trilogy.
Levi uh, has a Star Wars movie in the works, but the project won't enter production until after Deadpool 3 and Stranger Things season 5 has wrapped up,
Oh
which
God.
is not going to be another couple years probably. And it says
Yeah.
that's all we know about this particular project at the moment, so don't expect to hear anything at the time. So what is this thing where it's like they're just like we're just going to give movies to directors and then be like who knows? Like,
Maybe they'll write it
that
this year. Maybe they'll write it next year. Maybe they'll write it
that,
the year
that
after that. We don't know.
how is this their strategy for this thing they paid like $1 billion for? Like I can't believe it.
So
And then and then it says like if I had this strategy for like I have a business where I am the only employee, and if I had this strategy for my own business, it would be gone in like a couple months.
yeah, but
Like, I don't.
but Star Wars is like the most one of the most recognizable IPs in the history of the
They're
world.
literally
So
too big to fail. That's the problem. It doesn't matter how stupid they are, or how bad their strategy is. It's just gonna work. People
yeah,
buy
I
it.
hate to agree with you, but I think you're right. That's what it boils down to at the end of the day. Is it doesn't matter. Like like I mean we saw it with fucking the sequel trilogy, especially the last two movies. Like how what a shitty product they turn out, and they're still here. They're still making money. They're not going anywhere. You know.
It says Ryan Johnson.
No, oh
Hold
God, no.
on. Will be heading up a brand new Star Wars movie trilogy that
Please no,
features new characters from a
no,
corner of the galaxy that Star Wars lore has never before explored.
no,
Well, it doesn't matter because you can
no.
get anywhere in the galaxy in like 3 seconds now, so who
Yeah,
cares?
yeah. I
It
heard
says,
Ryan Johnson and I checked out.
yeah, it says the project. It says Ryan Johnson uh, responded to rumors that the project had been abandoned and said that it hasn't, but there hasn't really been any updates since 2021. Uh, it says Vanity Fair does not indicate that the trilogy is on the back, or does indicate that that the trilogy is on the back burner because
Yeah.
he's working on Knives Out. Like that, it doesn't make any sense. Why is their strategy like we're just gonna like we're gonna give movies to directors and then they have canceled movies here. We're not even gonna talk about these, but it's just like we're just gonna give movies to directors and then be like,
Whenever you get around to it, it's not a big deal. Like we're only $1 billion international franchise that depends on churning out content for the fans to keep us alive and keep people
but
interested.
do they?
Well, apparently not. Apparently
Is there
not.
enough on
Like I
merch?
didn't even know a lot of this shit that you just said. So like this makes me even more disillusioned with the future of Star Wars than I already
Well, that's the
was.
thing is I literally remember reading articles about stuff like this and hearing videos about these rumors and stuff about the next Star Wars movie like from before Rise of Skywalker came out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like It's been like 5 fucking years. We haven't actually had a legitimate like update on what's going on in terms of like the post Rise of Skywalker Star Wars films, if or what they're making in
Yeah.
like 5 years. Like
Yeah, I don't know,
they're
man.
still, I guess they're still making money hand over fist. Like I heard someone who had said there was a rumor that we're gonna fire Kathleen Kennedy if she doesn't come out with a movie soon or something. But I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, if you didn't do your job or I didn't do my job, we'd probably be fired pretty quick. So I think,
If I didn't do my job, I'd be I wouldn't get 5 years. I would get like I would. Well, first of all, if I didn't do my job, nobody would fire me. But I'm sure if you didn't do your job, you'd probably get like at most 5 hours,
yeah, exactly. So,
maybe 5 days if you used sick time.
yeah, exactly. Which I just had to do, but that's neither here nor there. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess that really feeds into what I was saying about like the feeling of directionlessness that the franchise has at this point. And it's like I hate to agree with you, but you're absolutely right. It does just feel like we have so much money and we know you all will eat up whatever dump we take on a plate and feed you, so we don't even care anymore. And it's like Jesus Christ, like you don't have to be that obvious about it, like you don't have to be that, like at least pretend or try to pretend like you give a shit about your fan base. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
but they're just making the Disney park bigger.
yeah. Well, they're making the Disney Plus thing bigger with the shows and everything, which
Well, I was saying the park, like the Star Wars area of the
oh
Disney
that
park, they're making that bigger.
oh well yeah. There's a silver lining. So well, I guess that's where it is with Star Wars right now. But
That's a wrap.
that's a wrap. So I guess we'll see what happens eventually. So
Maybe.
maybe eventually, maybe. So all right, but I think that'll do it for us here. So thanks for watching again, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, and or subscribe if you did enjoy. Share the video as well, all that good stuff. And stay tuned for more new videos in the future. I'd like to thank my guest, Jonny Reps, for joining me to discuss Star Wars once again. So thank you for that.
Ah. Wait,
And
I'd have a. I don't know if I have anything to add. I might have. Wait.
make sure to vote for Johnny for Mr. Muscle and Fitness.
Toilet.
Make sure to vote for me for Mister.
Toilet.
Mr. Toilet. Yeah. Yep.
And then you're gonna go there and you'll go like,
What the fuck is going on?
There you go.
and then I'll come up and I'll be like,
You're a moron.
All right. Fox is going to sue me if you do that too many more times. So stop. I know I already made that joke, but what the fuck was that?
oh, I got a pertinent one. There we go.
I didn't even hear what that was.
Hold on, let me try it again.
The only one that would be pertinent is Palpatine saying "Do it."
You didn't hear that? It's Grievous saying General Kenobi.
Oh, there it is. It was who would have thought that so many years later we'd be looking back so fondly on the prequel trilogy. Just
Yeah.
thinking, you're like, man, I long for the days of the prequel trilogy. It's a sad
Yeah.
thought, but that's
And their weird silvery ships.
yeah, it's a sad thought, but that's what we got right now. So, but yeah, stay tuned for all that in the future, and that's it. And we'll see you next time.